But, Mr. President, you said that the minister was inspired, interesting, well-prepared, eloquent, and that the topic was relevant. Yes, replied Lincoln, but he didn't challenge us to do any great thing. A farce or comedy is best played, a tragedy is best read at home. What kills a skunk is the publicity it gives itself. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. What is conservatism? Is it not the adherence to the old and tried against the new and untried? The loss of enemies does not compensate for the loss of friends. Rules of living: don't worry, eat 3 square meals a day, say your prayers, be courteous to your creditors, keep your digestion good, steer clear of biliousness, exercise, go slow and go easy. Maybe there are other things that your special case requires to make you happy, but my friend, these, I reckon, will give you a good life. Passion has helped us, but can do so no more. It will in future be our enemy. Reason, cold, calculating, unimpassioned reason, must furnish all the materials for our future support and defense. And having thus chosen our course, without guile, and with pure purpose, let us renew our trust in God, and go forward without fear, and with manly hearts. Abraham Lincoln, in an address to Congress July 4, 1861. What is to be, will be, and no prayers of ours can arrest the decree. Although volume upon volume is written to prove slavery a very good thing, we never hear of the man who wishes to take the good of it, by being a slave himself. I walk slowly, but I never walk backward. The privilege of creating and issuing money is not only the supreme prerogative of government, but it is the government's greatest creative opportunity. By the adoption of these principles, the long-felt want for a uniform medium will be satisfied. The taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest, discounts and exchanges. The financing of all public enterprises, the maintenance of stable government and ordered progress, and the conduct of the Treasury will become matters of practical administration. The people can and will be furnished with a currency as safe as their own government. Money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity. Democracy will rise superior to the money power. I have always thought that all men should be free, but if any should be slaves, it should be first those who desire for themselves, and secondly those who desire it for others. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. Every man is said to have his peculiar ambition. I have no other so great as that of being truly esteemed of my fellow men, by rendering myself worthy of their esteem. Semua orang bisa tahan dengan kesang zeraan, tapi bila kawanjin mengetahui karakter seseorang, barulah dia kekuasaan. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. There can be glory in failure and despair in success. A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. To believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all, but to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. A drop of honey gathers more flies than a gallon of gall. Respected teacher, my son will have to learn that all men are not just, all men are not true. But teach him also that for every scoundrel there is a hero, that for every selfish politician, there is a dedicated leader. Teach him that for every enemy there is a friend. It will take time, I know, but teach him, if you can, that $1 earned is far more valuable than 5 found. Teach him to learn to lose and also to enjoy winning. Steer him away from envy, if you can. Teach him the secret of quiet laughter. Let him learn early that the bullies are the easiest to tick. Teach him, if you can, the wonder of books. But also give him quiet time to ponder over the eternal mystery of birds in the sky, bees in the sun, and flowers on a green hill. In school teach him it is far more honorable to fail than to cheat. Teach him to have faith in his own ideas, even if everyone tells him they are wrong. Teach him to be gentle with gentle people and tough with the tough. Try to give my son the strength not to follow the crowd when everyone is getting on the bandwagon. Teach him to listen to all men, but teach him also to filter all he hears on a screen of truth and take only the good that comes through. Teach him, if you can, how to laugh when he is sad. Teach him there is no shame in tears. Teach him to scoff at cynics and to beware of too much sweetness. Teach him to sell his brawn and brain to the highest bidders, but never to put a price tag on his heart and soul. Teach him to close his ears to a howling mob, and to stand and fight if he thinks he's right. Treat him gently, but do not cuddle him, because only the test of fire makes fine steel. Let him have the courage to be impatient, let him have the patience to be brave. Teach him always to have sublime faith in himself, because then he will always have sublime faith in mankind. This is a big order, but see what you can do. He is such a fine little fellow, my son. Abraham Lincoln's letter to his son's headmaster. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It sees no distinction in adding story to story. It scorns to tread in the footsteps of any predecessor, however illustrious. It thirsts and burns for distinction, and, if possible, it will have it. The struggle of today is not altogether for today, it is for a vast future also. The things I want to know are in books. My best friend is the man who'll get me a book I ain't read. He whose wisdom surpasses that of all philosophers, has declared that a house divided against itself cannot stand. If you would win a man to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. Important principles may and must be inflexible. If you are going to fight, don't let them talk you into negotiating. But, if you are going to negotiate, don't let them talk you into fighting. Laughter can be used to soothe the mind and get rid of those awful thoughts. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. To remain as I am is impossible. I must die or be better, it appears to me. If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 6 of them sharpening my axe. Your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. Let me not be understood as saying that there are no bad laws, nor that grievances may not arise for the redress of which no legal provisions have been made. I mean to say no such thing. But I do mean to say that although bad laws, if they exist, should be repealed as soon as possible, still, while they continue in force, for the sake of example they should be religiously observed. The will of God prevails. In great contests each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be, wrong. My childhood home I see again, and setting with the view, and still, as memory crowds my brain, there's pleasure in it too. Oh memory! Thou midway world twixt earth and paradise, where things decayed and loved ones lost and dreamy shadows rise, and, freed from all that's earthly vile, seem hallowed, pure, and bright, like scenes in some enchanted isle all bathed in liquid light. As dusky mountains please the eye when twilight chases day, as bugle notes that, passing by, in distance die away, as leaving some grand waterfall, we, lingering, list its roar, so memory will hallow all we've known, but know no more. Near 20 years have passed away since here I bid farewell to woods and fields, and scenes of play, and playmates loved so well. Where many were, but few remain of old familiar things, but seeing them, to mind again the lost and absent brings. The friends I left that parting day, how changed, as time has sped. Young childhood grown, strong manhood grey, and half of all are dead. I hear the loved survivors tell how naught from death could save, till every sound appears a knell, and every spot a grave. I range the fields with pensive tread, and pace the hollow rooms, and feel, companion of the dead, I'm living in the tombs. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. President Abraham Lincoln, Gettysburg Address, November 19, 1860. The way for a young man to rise, is to improve himself every way he can, never suspecting that anybody wishes to hinder him. Yang penting bukan berapa aku gagal, tapi yang penting berapa aku bangkit dari kegagalan. I am naturally anti-slavery. If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. I may be wrong in regard to any or all of them, but holding it a sound maxim, that it is better to be only sometimes right, than at all times wrong, so soon as I discover my opinions to be erroneous, I shall be ready to renounce them. I desire so to conduct the affairs of this administration that if at the end, when I come to lay down the reins of power, I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside me. People who like this sort of thing will find this the sort of thing they like. In review of a book. It is not in our forming battlements or bristling seacoasts, or our army and navy that makes America great, but rather our reliance in the law of liberty and the religious law God has planted in us. Any people anywhere, being inclined and having the power, have the right to rise up, and shake off the existing government, and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right, a right, which we hope and believe, is to liberate the world. I fear you do not fully comprehend the danger of abridging the liberties of the people. Nothing but the very sternest necessity can ever justify it. A government had better go to the very extreme of toleration, than to do aught that could be construed into an interference with, or to jeopardize in any degree, the common rights of its citizens. The books, and your capacity for understanding them, are just the same in all places. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed, is more important than any other one thing. If we take habitual drunkards as a class, their heads and hearts will bear an advantageous comparison with those of any other class. We shall need all the anti-slavery feeling in the country, and more. You can go home and try to bring the people to your views, and you may say anything you like about me, if that will help. When the hour comes for dealing with slavery, I trust I will be willing to do my duty though it cost my life. There has never been but one question in all civilization: how to keep a few men from saying to many men, "You work and earn bread and we will eat it." Military glory, that attractive rainbow, that rises in showers of blood, that serpent's eye, that charms to destroy. If my father's son can become president of these United States, then your father's son can become anything he wishes. One company can serve some of your needs all of the time, or all of your needs some of the time, but never both. Without the assistance of that divine being, I cannot succeed. With that assistance I cannot fail. Trusting in Him, who can go with me, remain with you and be everywhere for good, let us confidently hope that all will yet be well. The hen is the wisest of all the animal creation, because she never cackles until the egg is laid. Resolve to be honest at all events, and if in your own judgment you cannot be an honest lawyer, resolve to be honest with fellow citizens. We cannot escape history. We of this Congress and this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. The problem with internet quotes is that you cannot always depend on their accuracy. The most altruistic man is the most selfish. I am approached with the most opposite opinions and advice, and that by religious men, who are equally certain that they represent the divine will. I am sure that either the one or the other is mistaken in that belief, and perhaps in some respects both. I hope it will not be irreverent for me to say that if it is probable that God would reveal His will to others, on a point so connected with my duty, it might be supposed He would reveal it directly to me, for, unless I am more deceived in myself than I often am, it is my earnest desire to know the will of Providence in this matter. And if I can learn what it is, I will do it. These are not, however, the days of miracles, and I suppose it will be granted that I am not to expect a direct revelation. I must study the plain, physical facts of the case, ascertain what is possible and learn what appears to be wise and right. Nothing in this world is impossible to a willing heart. Nothing in this world is impossible to a willing heart. They, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, did not mean to assert the obvious untruth that all were then actually enjoying that equality, nor yet that they were about to confer it immediately upon them. In fact, they had no power to confer such a boon. They meant simply to declare the right, so that the enforcement of it might follow as fast as circumstances should permit. While the people retain their virtue and vigilance, no administration, by any extreme of wickedness or folly, can very seriously injure the government, in the short space of 4 years. When you have got an elephant by the hind legs and he is trying to run away, it's best to let him run. In your temporary failure there is no evidence that you may not yet be a better scholar, and a more successful man in the great struggle of life, than many others, who have entered college more easily. Teach the children so it won't be necessary to teach the adults. If we magnified our successes as much as we magnify our disappointments, we'd all be much happier. You can lose everything in life, but not dreams. I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. It is not the Constitution as I would like to have it, but as it is, that is to be defended. The Constitution will not be preserved and defended until it is enforced and obeyed in every part of every one of the United States. It must be so respected, obeyed, enforced and defended, and let the grass grow where it may. In the end, it's not the years in your life that counts. It's the life in your years. The facts with which I shall deal this evening are mainly old and familiar, nor is there anything new in the general use I shall make of them. If there shall be any novelty, it will be in the mode of presenting the facts, and the inferences and observations following that presentation. We shall sooner have the fowl by hatching the egg than by smashing it. Slavery is founded in the selfishness of man's nature, opposition to it in his love of justice. These principles are in eternal antagonism, and when brought into collision so fiercely as slavery extension brings them, shocks and throes and convulsions must ceaselessly follow. You can complain because a rose has thorns, or you can rejoice because the thorns have a rose. The best thing a man can do for his children is love their mother. I have never united myself to any church because I have found difficulty in giving my assent without mental reservation to the long complicated statements of Christian doctrine which characterize their articles of belief and confessions of faith. When any church will inscribe over its altar as the sole qualification for membership the Savior's condensed statement of the substance of both law and gospel, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself," the church I will join with all my heart. The only way to predict the future is to create it. No human counsel hath devised nor hath any mortal hand worked out these great things. They are the gracious gifts of the Most High God. So you're the little woman who wrote the book that made this great war. I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists. I believe I have no lawful right to do so, and I have no inclination to do so. My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of earth. If by the mere force of numbers a majority should deprive a minority of any clearly written constitutional right, it might in a moral point of view justify revolution, certainly would if such right were a vital one. But such is not our case. Two principles have stood face to face from the beginning of time, and they will ever continue to struggle. The one is the common right of humanity and the other the divine right of kings. The path was worn and slippery. My foot slipped from under me, knocking the other out of the way, but I recovered and said to myself, "It's a slip and not a fall." This is a world of compensation, and he who would be no slave must consent to have no slave. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and, under a just God, cannot long retain it. A universal feeling, whether well or ill-founded, cannot be safely disregarded. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country. Let the Constitution be taught in schools, in seminaries, and in colleges. Let it be written in primers, in spelling books and in almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislative halls, and enforced in courts of justice. And, in short, let it become the political religion of the nation. I shall adopt new muse as fast as they appear to be true muse. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Everyone desires to live long, but no one would be old. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that this government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. I have destroyed my enemies when I make friends with them. I have never had a feeling politically that did not spring from the sentiments embodied in the Declaration of Independence. February 22, 1861. Thanks for watching. Like and comment, subscribe now.